Once you have your high-level account set up, now the journey begins with getting your user accounts created, or your staff member, team, whatever you want to call it, getting all those accounts created and making sure they're set up correctly with the proper security and the proper access so that Highlevel functions correctly. That's going to be the topic of this video. My name is rayodaniel. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you have not, please click subscribe to the channel. We do have a lot of great content. I try to publish a couple of times a week. So right now, let's hop into it and get into user configuration. Awesome. So here we are just in a basic high-level agency view account. Now, inside of Highlevel, there's two different places where you can create user accounts and get them set up. I'm only going to recommend one, but I'm going to show you both just so that you can see how they both function. So one way to set up user accounts is from the agency view. So and if you remember Highlevel, the agency view is the top level view inside of the organization. That's, again, just the top level view. So we're going to come through, and once we're in here, the agency view, we're going to click setting and then go to teams. So once we go to teams, we see that we've got a couple of users configured here already. So there is an add employee button here at the top right. You can just simply click on that, and this begins the process of setting up your user accounts. Now, I'm not actually going to set up a user account at this level. I'm merely going to walk through and show you some of the configuration changes. And then we're going to go into the next level, which is the sub-account level, which is where I recommend you create it and then create the user there. So we're going to go over the user configurations here. Now, there are similarities between setting them up at the agency view and then setting them up at the sub-account or the company level or location level, whatever you want to call it, view. Now, here at the agency view, you have different choices than you actually have at the sub-account level. Likewise, at the sub-account level, you have more details you can configure on the user account than at the agency level. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the user account setup at the agency and the sub-account location levels are different. So here we see we just got basic information here, the personal logo. This really is kind of like a selfie image of the person so that you can look at the user account and see the person's photo there. So that's kind of what this is for. If you don't want to have that, that's fine. First name, last name, email. This is all the basic setup here. You've got user permissions. We will be going over this in a little bit later, but here's all the different things that you can turn off and on so your users have access to those. And then you see your user roles. This right here is where I want to primarily focus here at the agency level. Now, if you're going to create a user at the agency level, the only reason I would say create it at the agency level is if you're creating an agency user. So when you say creating an agency user, how is that different than creating a sub-account or a company user? Well, at the agency level, if you create a user account here and the user is an agency level user, that particular user will then have access to all sub-accounts under that agency view. That's one really important factor that you need to consider here. So anybody that has an agency account has sort of a high-level view to see all of the different accounts underneath it. So that right there is a pretty big responsibility to your organization. You might want to choose who you select has an agency account carefully. So here, if you take a look, you see you can set up an agency or an individual account. Now, this individual account is what I referred to as a company or sub-account level. So you can create a sub-account level here at the agency view. I just don't recommend it because right now I only recommend myself personally creating a user account at this level if it's going to be an agency user. But I'm going to show you the setup changes and the configurations at this level. So you can set up an agency or an account level. Let's just leave it at agency. The user role, it could be just a normal user, a standard user that you assign permissions to, or it can be an admin user that just pretty much has access to everything. So you can select that. Now, one of the things here is that if you do want to set up an agency user, you can specify what sub-accounts you want that particular person to have access to. So previously I said if you set it up at the agency level and that person, for instance, is an admin, they're going to have access to all the sub-accounts. Well, you can go in and actually restrict access to certain locations. So if you want to click the drop-down list, you can pick any of the accounts that you have to give them access to so that they only have access to those sub-accounts. Maybe they're the manager over those accounts, so they need full access to those accounts, but not to other client accounts because you might have another manager responsible for that client account. So you can set those permission level changes here at the agency, but right now when you create that, that's again, I would say you only do this for the agency level at this point. Realistically, if you're going to be creating just standard user accounts for companies and sub-accounts, you really need to handle that at the sub-account location. So let's hop into that location and let's take a look at that. So I'm going to use one of our demo accounts here. This is just called Digi Global Agency that we've set up here. And if we go to settings, there's my staff area is where you actually want to configure the user accounts. Now here we have no user accounts configured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the employee at this level and show you some of the different changes and options that are available at the sub-account level that you didn't see at the agency level. So there are some slight changes. Here at the add employee level, notice that you have a couple of different other setup configurations. You have this call and voice settings, user availability, and user calendar configuration. So we'll get into those. User information is pretty much the same. You've got your logo, your basic information. Now here's where you also get some other options if you want to have email signatures enabled for people whenever they send emails out. You configure the email signatures at this level here. And then once your email signature is in here, it's used for any outbound communication that this particular user sends via email to any particular client will have the email signature attached. Now, one of the other things that we need to take a look at here is the calendar. Now, with this, if you're, I'm not going to go over calendars in general here. If you're interested, I have a whole other video on my YouTube channel that goes over calendars. You can go ahead and watch it to go over the details of how to set up and configure the calendar. But if you ever just wanted to add a particular user to a calendar, you can do so here by just selecting the drop-down list and adding them to a team calendar. You can add them to that here. So next, we're going to move into user permissions. Now, here's where we're going to spend just a little bit of time because this is really important here. Every user in your organization is not going to be equal to another. So if you have somebody that's in your organization that has a very limited specific task, maybe they're a salesperson, maybe they're a funnel builder or a website designer. And for this particular purposes, let's just use a funnel builder. For this particular case, because I think it's a great example. You hire somebody to build a funnel for you, you give them a user account in your company location, and how do you make sure that they don't get into other areas to poke around? Even if they look at them, you don't want them browsing around your any of your customers, your contacts, your leads. You don't want them looking in your pipeline to see who you have there. You don't want them looking in any of the other areas of your company account that they shouldn't have access to. So here's where a lot of times you can sit back and turn these features off. All of these particular options that you see here are basically options that you have on the left side over here. If you could take a look at the menu option over here on your menu, all of those options that you have over there can be configured here for whether you have access to them or not. So right now, for example, for funnel, if you're just a funnel builder, they don't need access to looking at the dashboard and all the dashboard statistics. So if we want to, we can come here and log back into the account. Let's just take a look at this. That way we can look at it from a separate tab. Let me get back into the same account. So here we have the menu options. Notice we have a lot of things that we can look at here. Conversations, calendars, contacts. Well, here, this dashboard stats is this view that you get right here. You might not want to have a funnel builder log in and see all of your opportunities, how much money you have potentially in your pipeline, how much money you've made, access to your reporting to run reports on stuff. They just don't need access to that. So if you wanted to, you can go in and turn those features off. So here's where you would set that up when you create their accounts. A funnel builder, for instance, wouldn't need access to appointments. Bulk requests are things like if you're ever in the contacts and you want to do like a bulk upload, you want to upload customers or you want to download customers, think about that. Would you want a potential funnel builder to log into all of your contacts, highlight all of them and say click download as a CSV file, and now they've got all of your customer client data? Probably wouldn't be a great idea. So you might want to turn bulk requests off for them so they can't do something like that. Likewise, if you haven't, if they're going to be running any kind of email campaigns and they don't need access to that, you can turn that off too. Triggers, opportunities, contacts, online listings, any of the settings inside your account, you see how you can actually turn all of these features off. So right now, you would just simply go through and remove all of these particular features. Of course, over here for websites, this right here, websites and funnels are kind of built in together. So this is what you would have to turn off. But literally, you can go turn all of these other reviews, conversations, and your funnels. You might want to leave that on as far as your website area, but turn these other things off. So you see, this right here is where you can actually get very granular and only give them access to very specific things inside of your account. Now, for right now, I'm just trying to provide an example of how you can really fine-tune the security of a login to only have access to what they would really need to, and that's it. Because again, you don't want people poking in and potentially stealing some of your data, or even in a sense, even having access to change data. I mean, what if they went in and changed the contact's phone number or email, and now they're messing your account up? Well, they shouldn't have even had access to that account to begin with. So right here is where you can eliminate that possibility before they even get logged in and start using your system. So this is how granular you can sit back and use this. Now, you'd have to play with this depending upon when they log in, what you want them to have access to, depending upon the role that they have in your company. Sometimes they may need access to everything in here, in which case, that's just a risk that you're going to have to take. Next, we're going to have is user roles. This is pretty straightforward. You can either have a standard user or an admin user. Now, if you have an admin user, for the most part, it just makes sense that they have access to everything inside of the organization. So having an admin account and then turning all this stuff off really doesn't make much sense. So if you're going to turn these things off here and they're not going to have access to everything, then just make them a basic user. Okay? Next thing here is the call settings. Now, right now, the call settings really has to deal with what they call the LC phone system, or the lead connector phone system. When you're dealing with the lead connector phone system, again, I'm not going to go over that. I have a whole other video that deals with the lead connector phone system and how you configure it. But if you do have a phone number that is directly tied to a user account here, then in that particular phone number, you will need to make sure that they have their voicemail settings. And this is where you can record their voicemail settings on here. You would just simply have them record an MP3. Hello, my name is rayodaniel. I'm unavailable at this particular time. Please leave a short name and message. You get the point. So you can record a voicemail message and upload that. And now for that particular phone number, if they're assigned to that, if that phone number is assigned to them, then it will go to their particular voicemail settings here. So that's what you actually configure here. Next is going to be user availability. Now, what I want to do is highlight over this nice little question mark here. And in case you can't see it, it says this setting is applicable with only team calendars. So again, going back to calendars, we're not going to go over that. Please watch the other video. But if you don't have team calendars or you're not implementing team calendars, then this area really is not relevant to your situation. However, team calendars are a new and great feature inside of Highlevel. So I definitely recommend you take advantage of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings. Now, whenever you configure inside of a calendar, and a particular user here, let's just say this user is assigned to a team calendar. Let's just say it could be a sales calendar, like appointment booking calendar. So one of the things about it is that there's a custom field at each individual user level that specifies, like it could be a Zoom link or it could be a Google Meetup link. Well, this right here is where you can configure it. So right now, if you want to, you can connect a custom link, connect Zoom, or connect Google Meet to this particular user location. Now, when you configure this particular user, we're going to look at this a little bit here. There are settings that you can configure at the user level once that user logs in. From an admin perspective, you're only setting up the user account here. Once we set the user account up here and actually get logged in, which we'll do here shortly, I'm going to show you some of the other settings that can be configured at the user account level that can integrate with some of the other features like calendar and so forth. So here we're just going to see if you do have a particular location, you can connect Zoom. Now, if you do that, it's going to want you to connect it. This is not a great time to do that here at this, it's better to create the user account first and then go into the user account and connect that Zoom connection. That way the user can do it themselves, because right now at this point, the user that you're configuring is being configured by you. You may not know their Zoom login or anything like that, so you might want to have them do that later. But if they already have a Zoom link and that you know about, you can just simply copy and paste that here. Now, this is very important. You do need to configure the time zone. Please configure the time zone. If you're doing appointment bookings and you're in Eastern time zone, the user is, you need to make sure that you specify that with Highlevel, because if not, it won't be able to adjust the time factor when it comes to setting appointment times. Because if somebody's in Pacific time, for instance, and they're trying to book Eastern time, the system just needs to know what time zone the potential client is in, what time zone the user calendar, the user for that particular calendar is in, so it can make sure it can understand the time difference when you get that set up. So you have to get this configured. Now, the next thing we're going to look at here is available hours. If you do not configure available hours for the user at this particular level, the system is going to take whatever hours the calendar that user is assigned to is when the user will be available. So let's just take it, for instance, an example. You have a calendar where the availability for that calendar is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If nothing is indicated here, then the user, in a sense, once it's assigned to that calendar, will be available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's the understanding of the system. However, it could be that some people work different hours. Some employees are maybe part-time. Some maybe work different shifts. I don't know. So right now, if somebody does work outside of that 9 to 5 Eastern time, you need to make sure you configure the system with what their time is for that particular day so that the system knows when this user is available. Now, please keep in mind this available hours overrides the values that are in the calendar. So let me give you an example here. Let's just click on Monday, and let's just say instead of 9, we'll say that this particular user is available from, let's just say, give me a second, let's just say 11 a.m. is when they're available to, let's just move this up here, 1 p.m. So I'm just going to throw this out here. So the calendar, keep in mind, the calendar says that the team members on the calendar are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, on Mondays, for whatever reason, this particular user may only be available from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Once you put this in there and save this, the system now knows that that particular user is only allowed between 11 and 1 o'clock on that particular calendar, even if the calendar says 9 to 5. So the Highlevel calendar will only, this has to be a team calendar, by the way. The Highlevel team calendar will only make this user available from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the time zone specified. That's it. Otherwise, the calendar won't book this particular person because it knows this setting right here overrides the setting that are in the team calendar, and that's what it will end up using. So, excuse me. So this is what the user availability is, and this is how you can get it set up. Next is going to be the user calendar setup. Now, this particular calendar configuration is not really available to be configured here. This is one of those settings that I told you needs to be configured once a user logs in. So we will actually take a look at that here shortly. Now, rather than going through the process of creating a user account and doing all the validation, I want to make sure that you understand that Highlevel has two-factor authentication built into it. So that means whenever somebody logs in, if there's not already a cookie or there's not already anything like that on your account set up that shows you've logged in with your password, it will make you verify you are who you say you are by sending you an access code. Now, if you have a email address and a phone number configured on your account, then it will give you both options, whether or not you want to send the code via email or you want to send the code via text message, but it will send a code to you. Now, rather than having, for me in this example, to go through and have to create up a whole other Gmail account and set all that stuff up, I honestly don't want to do that on this particular example. I'd much rather just use an existing user that we already have set up, just so you can understand how this works. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over and we're going to log in as a user and see some of the settings that we can adjust once the user account has been created and once the user logs in, what are some of the options that they have to get connected that deals with Highlevel and the team calendars and so forth. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to come over here to our new login window, and I'm logged in here, but I'm also logged into the user account via Gmail, because we will need to have access to that email account once we log in to send a code to it. So give me a second here. Let me see if I could get this logged in. Now, right here, I'm trying to sign in, but because we're in this example, we're in incognito window. There's no cookie on this one here. There's nothing that shows you've logged in previously. So now, if it doesn't, then we're going to have to sit back and send a security code to actually get logged in. This is a default for Highlevel, and you're not going to be able to change it. So we're just going to say send security code. Once we do that, we're going to click over here. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get into the particular inbox here to get this thing set up. All right, so just took a little bit. So here it is, 123339. So we enter the security code, we confirm it. Now we get logged in, and now we're logged in to the account as a particular user. Perfect. So once we get logged in here, what we can do is simply go into the settings and look at the user profile. So now this particular one, if you take a look here, this user only has access to this one particular sub account. If you did have a user that has access to a couple of different sub accounts, and the reason this happens is if, let's just say if you have a client with 2 locations, like 2 offices, same business, but 2 physical locations, each location may be set up differently in Highlevel as a sub account, but you might have one user that has access to both locations. So that's kind of how you would set this up. So when somebody logs in, they could choose one location or the other. If it's a salesperson working leads on both different locations, you might want to have it set up that way. But here, this particular user only has access to one account. So here, what we're going to do is come into settings. And what we're going to do is going to click on the My Profile area. Now, under My Profile area, you're going to see that here, this is all the basic information regarding the user. Now, I wanted to show you real quick what this looks like here, this personal logo. I'm going to have to bounce back real quick to the other screen so we can sit back and take a look at this and see. If I'm going to log in here, notice I'm logged in as Jane Smith, and without a profile picture, all it shows up is just a little circle with a color. It randomly picks a color, and it has the initials JS on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Now, if I'm Jane Smith, I can come in here and click change, come down here and pick a nice little profile picture, and just say update my profile. Now, when I update the profile, now I can come back here, and if I did hit refresh, we should see the nice picture of Jane Smith, that little circle go away, and we should see a nice little picture of that particular user here. So that's what I mean. Having that little profile picture, even if it's a quick selfie that they could take, really goes a long way, because you, as maybe an admin or a manager, it might be good to personalize the user accounts and actually see who that particular user is. So just wanted to show you that real quick. Now, all of this other information here, the user can change any of their phone numbers, the extensions, they can come in and change their password. We did see the user availability. This is that area I told you about earlier that we set up on the user account. Now, if this particular person has availability from 9 to 5, and this is Central Time because it's in Chicago, but this right here, it could be any setup that you want on here. So this is where whenever you set that user account up, you do need to set them up. I would highly recommend setting available hours for every user, even if they're the same. Having those available hours for the user is going to be very important, because the hours in the calendars could be different, and you want to make sure that whatever times the users are available is what actually shows up. So that's my recommendation. So here we've got the email signature, which again we've set up. We could have set up the user level, or we could have simply let the user log in and enable their own email signatures here. Now, some of the other cool stuff that we've got here are some of these other things down here, the integrations. So here on the integrations, we've got Zoom. So if we wanted to, this is where we can simply click connect. It'll pop up, log into their Zoom account. Now, I'm not going to log into a Zoom account because this particular person doesn't have Zoom, but if they do have a Zoom account and they do log in to the Zoom account here, what will happen is the system will automatically come up here and configure this. Whenever you look at it, you can simply just select Connect Zoom. Now, it's still wanting to connect because we don't actually have the integration to Zoom connected here. But once it is connected, you will actually see, once you choose Zoom, you will see the meeting location automatically populate here. So now moving forward, for any calendar configurations, any appointments, anything that you do, that link will always be available on your user account and therefore will always be included on the meeting downloads and the appointment settings when you set up, whether it be an Outlook or Google Calendar invite. When those get sent out, then that link will be included in the invite so that you don't have to remember to include it later. That way somebody can click on that link and has a link to the Zoom meeting inside of the calendar appointment. So perfect. So here we can connect Zoom, or we can actually connect our Outlook calendar. Again, if you're not using Gmail, you can connect Gmail or your Outlook calendar to the to your account here. So if you do use Outlook, you can make your calendar connections here. Now, this is a nice particular feature here. And right now, getting a two-way sync. Let me give you an example of this here. This is where sometimes the calendar configurations can get a little bit complicated. So let's just say if we wanted to connect Gmail here. Now, we already logged into the Gmail account, so we can click on Connect Gmail and just connect it here. You will have to sit back and allow Lead Connector to connect up to it. You will have to say view my emails, send on behalf of. These will have to be checked on here. Otherwise, the feature can't really do its job here. So you're going to click continue. Okay, so now we're kind of back to the screen. So we're going to just come back in here and click a refresh real quick so we don't have to have multiple tabs open. So we're going to scroll down here, and now we see Jane Smith's email is connected. So we are set up email with a two-way sync. Here's where this really becomes very important and powerful whenever you do this. Now, this is something you don't have to do. If I wanted to, I can delete this connection and do not have two-way sync enabled. However, let's just say you have a user and they're, I'm just going to use an appointment setter. They're working from home or working abroad or working wherever they normally work, but right now, in this particular case, we have this person set up from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. Now, what happens if they have a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment on their personal calendar? So they come over here to this particular calendar. They come to their personal calendar and they block off, let's say 12 to 2. 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. I have an appointment. I don't want to be available for that. Here's one of the great things about Highlevel. With two-way sync involved, Highlevel will then go out to the personal calendar and pull that sort of availability in and say, oh, you already have an appointment from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on this day. And it pulls it into the team calendar, and it just simply says, oh, this user already has an appointment between 12 and 2. Therefore, this user will not be booked for any appointments between 12 and 2 p.m. in case you have like a round-robin calendar approach set up, or depending on how you have your calendar, the system will not set an appointment during that time. So this is where it's really helpful. So as long as your users can log into their calendars, set up the appointments correctly, Highlevel can read their calendars, pull those appointments in, and schedule everything else and dynamically build the calendar link configuration around all of the things as far as if they already have appointments booked, if they're not available during that time, maybe their user availability is unavailable, or if they are available, but they have another appointment privately booked on their calendar, then it won't book that time either. But this is how you can set all of that stuff up. And this comes back to whenever you do this, how do you train your users? Once you create the user account and you do the basic setup that we've already set up and went through, when you configure all that, then how do you have them connect all of this stuff up behind the scenes? Walk them through it one time to get this stuff done. It could be a little training video that you send out. It could be a procedure manual, but these are important things that they need to get done now when their account first gets set up, because moving forward, everything else is going to pull from this profile area. So this is why it's very important to get this whole area updated. So right now, that's really the basics of what I wanted to go over. Now, I did want to cover one more thing now that I think about it here, and I apologize. I did not go over this specifically in the user permissions that I wanted to. So there's one area right here, and only assign data. This is going to be off by default. Now, the reason for this is let's just keep using our example of a salesperson here. If you only want that particular person to see only the items, the contacts, the leads, the appointments, anything that they have been assigned to, then you turn this on. However, when you do that, the user has no availability to any other potential appointments. If they go into the pipelines and opportunity area, they can only see leads that are assigned to them. They cannot see any other leads. So you kind of limit the scope of what they could see inside of the system. And you might want to do this for security. I'm not sure. But if you turn this on, if they have 100 leads and they're only assigned 10, they're only going to see 10 leads. And if they go to the contacts area, they're only going to see 10, contacts and have access to those 10 conversations. So it's going to limit the scope of what that particular person can see. Not sure if this is really what you want in your organization. It's completely up to you, but I did want to make sure that I bring this up because I didn't mention that on the last time that we looked at the user permissions. We were just kind of looking at some of these other things. But that right there overall is how you set up your user accounts in a nutshell. Again, it takes some forethought about how you want your users to be set up. What do you want your users to be able to do? What I urge you to as a business owner, as an agency owner, is to help to make sure that your clients protect themselves from themselves. So in order to do that, you have to be able to give them best practices over how to set up different user accounts, what people should be able to do and not be able to do. For instance, a great point of that is the bulk upload area that we covered here. So, that's potentially dangerous. Just imagine if you hired a salesperson, and they got hired, they logged into your system, they highlighted all 20,000 of your contacts, clicked, downloaded a CSV file, they've got your entire customer database, and then they turn around and say, that's it, I quit. This place sucks, I'm not going to be working here anymore. And they leave, and they turn around and sell all of your leads to a competitor. Now, I'm giving that as a worst case scenario. I'm not trying to plant stuff into your mind here, but stuff like that does happen. Call it industrial espionage or whatever it is. But if you just turn off that bulk upload feature, then that bulk import feature, whatever, that allows you to just not have that as even a potential option for people to download a copy of your database. If you want to go ahead and turn that only assign data option on, that's another security thing here. Only assign data. If you want to turn it on, they can only see the things that you assign them or that they have been assigned to. So there are some security measures that you can implement. It just really depends upon how your business is structured and so forth. So I hope you found this video useful. This is, I think, is a big point where it's kind of just taken for granted that just somebody throws in a first name and last name, an email address, and a password and just says click, set everybody up, gives everybody full access to everything in the system. Personally, I think that's a mistake. There should only be a few people that have access to everything. More importantly, the access into Highlevel should be configured around what the role is for that particular person, not around just the availability of having access to everything, because you don't want to have people have access to areas they don't need to be in, because otherwise they're going to be clicking in there, playing in there, and who knows if they're going to move an opportunity from one stage to the next, playing around, and next thing you know, that completely messes up your sales pipeline, for instance. So I take it, from an IT background, I take it very seriously of getting the user accounts created. I just have not seen anybody else really show a video of how you can get user accounts created effectively to kind of give you some of the pros and cons, let you think about how to set these accounts up. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, please click like, smash the subscribe button. I appreciate your support and have a great day.